Welcome back to Grumpy Old Men. We've never had a couch like this. We've got a man who's got an $8.4 million house on the right of the couch, and we've got a man who goes fox hunting with Prince Charles. His name's Ragsy Goold, one of the greats of the Carlton Football Club. John,
hey, Johnny.
These days, Bobby tells me that you're master of the hunt. What is the master of the hunt?
Well, it's a 300-year tradition in England. We're not really keen on English, are we? But there are some things we've all inherited. And one of them is fox hunting, which was brought out in the 1840s, 50s to the district I live in. And for some reason, having left footy, I've always had a passion for horses. And one of the ultimate passions is to work with dogs and a horse. And, of course, the Poms don't get many things right, but one thing they've done for 300 years is continued the sport because it is an amazing integration of country life. So I happen to be stupid enough to have a private pack of hounds, and because I own them, I can be the master and the huntsman and tell everyone what they want to do. But that costs you a lot of money to say that.
So this photograph here,
yes,
all those dogs there, you own those dogs. Is Prince Charles in there somewhere?
Excuse me, sir, I must reprimand you for 1 second.
Hounds.
They're not dogs, they're hounds.
Hounds.
Oh, they're hounds.
Sorry about that.
English foxhounds, they are.
Oh, are they?
Yes. I remember Raggy telling him in the back room.
How many hounds have you got there?
Well, there'll be about 25, 28 couple. You never talk about a hound as a single dog. It's either a half couple or a couple. A half is one and a couple is two. So if you're hunting and you come out of a cover, your whip will come up and say, half down, sir, or 1.5 down, sir, and that's 1.5 couple. And when you finish, they're all on, sir. And you normally stay 18, 20, or as it is, there's about 25, 26 couple of hounds. In normal terms, let's say there's 20 couple is 40 hounds, but we never talk 40 or dogs.
What about a pack, John? What about a pack?
Pack is the 18. The pack is the pack you take after the day, which is the 18.5 couple.
Is that right?
It's called a pack.
What would one of those English foxhounds be worth? Just one?
Well, the problem is that depending on the quality of the hunt, our country's brilliantly fast. It's unique in the world in terms... So hounds, as they get older, can't keep up with the younger ones. A bit like some footballers, some footballers who played in the centre and end up in the back pocket. They start looking for another bit of skirt, you see. So given that, so you're always every year breeding 15 or 20 young pups every year at home. Yep. And if you look at the money it costs over 20, 25 years, which wouldn't be much short of 4 million or something, suppose you divide that by 80, the hounds are worth a few bob, aren't they? Now, two of those...
$4 million spent on hounds, Doug.
Two of those hounds this last year, to the leading hunt in America, they actually invited and asked, and they wanted to buy them for 10,000 US each. I would not sell the hound to them, I gave them to them, and they're now performing brilliantly in America. It's the first time in 150 years 2 foxhounds from Australia have been sent to America and are running in the top pack over this. It's rather a nice compliment, seeing I bred them for 25 years.
Now just before we get to the football, down around your... Do you jump the stone fences, or you just jump the wire ones? Or
well, you jump whatever comes.
Depends on where you're coming from.
It depends how much... Well, out of interest, that was on my 60th birthday, and that we ran a fox 30 miles that day, and it was at the 20-mile mark, and the fellow who had shot himself and didn't want to jump the fence had his camera, because I had to go out and come back, and as I came back he ran down, and it was the first time ever they caught me, and that fence is 4'6" high, and if you notice there's crab holes there, and that's the 20-mile mark. We went on for another 10 miles. There's 4 of those photos around the world in people on the table, and they're the only ones, but I thought it was interesting to show you that for the last 25... great saying in life, Kevin, it's much better to be watched than to watch.
Now, do you really...
Very profound.
This may sound a silly question. I've never been fox hunting.
No.
But do you always catch the fox?
No, that's one of the great things. It's because it's a game of fairness, and the fox is, as we all know, they're unbelievably intelligent and cunning and got great guile. And it's the art of venery is assisting, or in fact allowing, having the faith and trust and the guts to let them flourish and watch their talent against the fox. And the fox normally has a 60... It's normally 70-30 in favour, 60-40 in favour of the hounds. If it gets to 50-50, they never catch them. But it's 60-40, 70-30, you might get 1 in 3.
You don't shoot him, John, do you? You don't shoot the fox.
No. We're not going to that sort of subject because we don't want to get into the involvement of cruelty or any of that. But let's leave it that we do... The fox wins on many occasions, but every now and then the hounds get rewarded.
Yeah. And did you really mean
Nicely
that you
put,
went for 30 miles after the one
We
pump?
went for 30 miles after the one, and that's why, look, Kevin, I go to America, and I thought what we did here, like nearly all the things we do in Australia, whether it's footy or what, we all think, oh, well, and particularly old days, we didn't think we were that good at things.
Yeah,
But God bless us, we've come to really appreciate we're not only good at things. I mean, we had 86 individual world champions about 2 years ago. We have wonderful environment. We should be the best in the world because we have the opportunity to be the best in the world. Our hunt is recognised in the top 1 or 2 in the world, because we have the opportunity. Secondly, you still got to have the guts and the commitment and the passion and the detail
And the money.
all those things, and maybe a bit of sugar as well, to honour that cause. But I go overseas, and for some reason we are revered. But I'm revered because I have the opportunity of living in this country and have had the opportunity to flourish in it.
How did someone, therefore, who's got a country background, find himself playing football at the Carlton Football Club?
Well, the short story is that I was aboard at school from 5½, and I finished that, and there was in my little local village, a fellow called Gordon Collis lived in, and I've known him since I had 1 year at school as a little ticker, and his family were friendly with my family, and so when, in fact, Richmond, I played a year of football in the country, and we happened to win the flag, and I played, believe it, centre forward. It's a terrible kick I was, or whatever it was, but
You weren't that bad a kick.
No, well, you know, whatever. But given that,
You weren't that
there were
good,
4 or
but you
5
weren't that
football
bad.
clubs that wanted me to come down, and Richmond was the front runner. And I, in fact, was taken to the Brownlow Medal dinner by Richmond.
Was that Graham Richmond who was
No,
doing...
well, Graham was there, but no, was the lovely. He had a very nice. They had a very nice coach at the time, the solid, big, heavy, solid fella. Back in '60s, early '60s.
Jack Titus?
Not Jack Titus.
No. Oh, Des Rowe.
Des Rowe,
Desi
well done.
Rowe,
Sorry,
yes.
Des Rowe. Anyway, cutting a long story short, Hansy got hold of it, and he got hold of Collis, and Collis got hold of me. And between them, particularly Collis, and the other silly part about it, I'd played in navy blue from school all my life, which is Melbourne Grammar
Melbourne
Colours.
Grammar, boy.
So you wouldn't believe it, more than any other reason, I just went to the Melbourne Grammar Colours. That's a true story. Yeah. It's
Well,
ridiculous.
it's 1968 you won a premiership under Ron Barassi.
Yeah, we did.
1969
you stole it from us.
69 we stole it. 1970.
Remember Barrett went mad and kicked that ball from that I can remember now, from that little gateway at the Graceman stand, on the boundary, drop kick straight through the middle, about 70 yards. It was unbelievable. Do you remember it well?
Well, I remember any win we have in a, in a grand final. 1970, you're in the famous grand final.
We
How
were.
did you get on with Ron Barassi?
I suppose he was very lucky to have me in terms, and I don't mean that like Pizzazzo, in terms of character and values. I think the man was absolutely unique. I adore the man. He was he's one of my mentors in life. He's influenced my values in life, which is a big statement to make. He was dressed in China to the Carlton Football
Here he
Club.
is.
And I must say that the influence he's had and the standards he set for all of us, he's had wonderful influence. I'm sure he did at North Melbourne as well. In fact, nearly everyone who's had genuine contact with Barras, in the end, has the ultimate respect for him.
John, what was it like beating Collingwood in this grand final? Was it good beating Collingwood?
Look, I think there's only nearly something nearly as good as the bedroom is beating Collingwood.
So were you pleased when Dennis moved up to the right-hand side of the couch and Tony Shaw had to leave?
I'll tell you what I was more pleased about moving to the right. In '66, I was fortunate enough also to be in that
In the carnival.
In the carnival.
Yes.
And in fact, I not that I should say, but I will say this in front of him. I actually was the best and fairest player for over the carnival for the Victorian flag, out of interest, and won by the length of the straight. And given that,
Won by the length of the straight.
Of the straight.
not many things I did, but that I did do. But given that, we have watched the unflowering and unveiling of a fella called Mel Brown at about 17, 18 years old. And we've watched the 3 or 4 games before we're going to play, and this fella's put fellas over the fence. He's king-ed, he's sideswiped. He's done the most dreadful things. I mean, you reckon it was Festival Hall or West Melbourne Stadium in those days. Anyway, you wouldn't believe it. To our misfortune, Brown's playing in the half-forward flank. So we come to the big day, and of course Whitten's in half-back, he's on one flank and I'm on the other. And of course, both left foot turning in, right foot turning. So there was no way of mixing the dice. Could we adjust? And of course, you don't think Whitten's having the ball. Who's the poor bastard's going to have to play on this play? And of course, we were great mates. Have a look at the 2 poofters over there. So, anyway, so we get out in the ground, we've done our circle work, warming up, and Whitten's right beside us. And anyway, we watch. And who comes? There's Mal, and he's well, honestly, a gust of oxygen went out of my mouth. And I looked over, and there's this face of anguish. White turned white, Marshall's got brown.
Can you remember
story.
that, Dennis?
Bloody hope you remember that.
Bloody hope he remembers it.
Just one thing.
He's got to answer that.
Just as a little touch that. He did play well in the carnival, that's true. But prior to the last game, Louis Richards was there, and I think even Jack Dyer was there, and they said, there's only one bloke that can beat you for the medal, Gilbert. And they said, who's that? And they said, Dennis. Well, we went out on the ground. The first time ever, I run to the right proper side to collect a handball from Gouldy. He saw it was me, he went, oh!
He avoided you.
He's never got a right-hand pass in his life. But he thought he's not getting the medal. That is a true story.
I'll tell you what, the brown story is the true story. And his trousers were brown, I can tell you.
He was a bit ratty.
Now, Gouldy, did anyone ever attempt to get your hair cut? You had those lovely black sort of whirly curls
You wouldn't
down.
believe it. The Carlton Football Club are very religious. And I used to be on the page about Samson.
Oh, yes, and long
And they
hair.
believed in it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So they
I
left
see.
me alone. Even Barassi. Yeah. Two people he left alone were the unusual characters Coswell and Goold.
Because Ron came from a period. He came from a coach, Norm Smith, who actually made him.
strict back and
He
sides.
actually made Bernie Massey shave off his moustache
very strict
because
back
he
and
said he'd
sides.
never play him as long as he had his moustache.
Very strict back. And in fact, I agree with him. I just think that at the time, sadly, when you look, my hair was short compared to today, but at the time,
How
it
do you
was
like
long.
Brendan Favola's hair today?
I think he's a disgrace. I'd cut his hair off and get rid of all those white boots and start behaving himself.
How can you dress so fashionable? I mean, back in those days, you used to, get dressed beautifully, and the boy from the country. What made you get dressed so great? Oh, money. You had the money, did you?
Listen, mate, how many septic tanks have you sold?
Not a lot.
Well, that's why you don't know about dress.
You know today, he's got a Prince of Wales check on. His sports coat is a Prince of
But
Wales
how can
check.
both these gentlemen dress beautifully? And don't they, like Dennis and...
My wife does mine, I can tell you. Not me.
Now, Gouldy, in the 60s, I used to have to come up to work with Ron Casey and Louis and
And you
those, and
remember that you used to work with me.
Oh, yeah, I
With you and
understand.
I and Louis,
Yeah.
at 3DB, Friday morning.
Yeah.
For years we did. You remember, Kevin?
Yes, I do.
And I used to do the Melbourne, the Herald article on the Monday and the Friday back page. You remember,
Yeah, that's right.
Of all those days, I would remember them well.
But the Florentinos, like, for me, they used to say, well, go over the Florentinos. Well, Florentino likes about £100 just to have an entree there, it was. And they say, oh, we'll have lunch today. I said, you're playing tomorrow? Oh, that's nothing. And up the stairs, look, those days, what would happen nowadays if we suddenly decided that...
I don't think we'd get away
No, I
with it,
don't
Robert.
think we'd get away.
Would you have a wine? Would you have a wine, John? Would you have
Oh, no, you wouldn't drink wine, but, I mean, there's nothing
You'd have
on a Friday having a nice piece of fish.
Yeah, that's right.
You would
never
you'd understand that, Doug.
Absolutely. But you have a wine, a red or a white? No.
No way on a Friday.
Before a game?
Not the Friday. You don't. You might have a little glass if you had a beautiful woman with you that night or something, but...
A beautiful woman? Yeah.
That night, that's Friday night.
John, tell us a bit about, like, Prince Charles was in the photograph there before. I mean, is he a good huntsman?
Yeah, look, it's very interesting. It's no different in life, Kevin. The best of the best are one-percenters, are incredibly generous. They want to help people. They like to hear good news. They like to create good news. And Charles is a bloody good bloke. How would you like to wear that job? And secondly, he loves his sport. He's a damn good... He's got tons of guts. He hasn't got that great a skill. In fact, if I wouldn't even consider to do the things that he does and takes on over a fence on a horse if I rode the way he rode. So you take your hat off to the fella, but a lot of Poms are like that. They're not that skillful, but you don't have to admit, thank God we've got a bit of the genes in us, they've got plenty of guts.
Right,
and he's a bloody good bloke.
Right, we get away from the hunting. What about the polo? Now, you were a one... There's something about goals or something, isn't
Okay,
there?
well, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I happened to I retired from footy and they all thought I'd gone brain dead. But in 6 years, I went from 0 to 6 goals in polo and represented Australia.
Yes.
And that's unheard of, for better or worse. It's unheard of. And to be 6 goals as an amateur is absolutely unheard of. And I actually played a number of times representing my country. So I represented Australian rules football. I represented the hunting, and in polo, and I now represented the hunting. So I've worn my blazer now in 3 sports in my life. So I'm quite proud of that. Now, in terms of polo, I will tell you something which will reflect on our days of footy. I was playing a major game for Australia, and a horse rolled over my head and put me on the deck, knocked me out, and they took me to the hospital ambulance, and they x-rayed my head. When they x-rayed my head, and I've still got the x-rays at home, they found 5 broken jaws, and they're all old, all from football.
Yeah.
I never had an x-ray once. That's how we played it then, and that you'd just be
So you
put
just
out
had
the
a
next
sore
week.
jaw and you played
You just
the
never
next
saw
week.
the jaw would click, you couldn't shoot, but you go and play the next week. I mean, I remember in the 1970 grand final, I had a very bad breakthrough here, and I remember Lofts, chicken shit he is, God bless him, came into the room, and he's there with Dave McCulloch.
Where's Lofts?
And Dave McCulloch, because he got dropped for the 70 grand final, and they put 5 big needles down this leg, and by the time, just before 3/4 time, it wore off, and I was in hospital the next day having an operation. I played with a bloody broken leg.
But that was a celebrated backline. Where's Lofts?
In bloody Geelong, we never ever got the needles.
Well, you were tougher than us. You were tougher
But
than
I
us.
understand that.
But I mean, in those
right.
days, you would never get away with it today, but that was just a given. You just got on with it. You know that, Kevin. And they make a big fuss of it
Now,
today.
you've met so many famous people. I mean, he's met Prince Charles, and he's out there hunting with Prince Charles. You've met Camilla and Princess Diana.
Lady Di.
Well,
Princess
sport
Diana.
takes you to a lot of places. All it
Can you
does,
give us an insight just how nice
Did you hold
Princess
your cup?
Diana was?
Did you hold your cup
you
nicely?
never lift your finger, mate.
No, that's right.
Never
You must
do
keep
that.
the fingers
Keep
closed.
the fingers
Very
down.
important not
Okay.
to do that. See, Dougie, that's one of the things you've got to realise. Get that finger,
Get the
snap
finger
it back in the
down.
plate. Keep it down, mate. It's a telltale sign that you're a non-new gentleman.
Yeah, that you're from Brighton.
Can you give us just even a little snippet insight into Princess Diana?
No, listen, that's a very sad world,
Yes.
as we know.
Yeah.
70% of people in this country end up in divorce. Life goes on. The sufferers are the kids. You've just got to understand the odds are in that way. That's a very sad epitaph in our history. He is a hell of a good bloke, and I know a lot of good blokes whose marriages are busted. I say there's always 2 sides to every argument, and there's only 2 people that goes on the kitchen, the bedroom, and those 2. Why should we be the judges?
But when
And
you
that's
met
the way-
her, did
well,
you
that's
find
no.
her
I just
delightful?
treat it. You just treat people with their respect, as we do everywhere else. And why you be in the blame game or the judgment game? That's not what life's about. Life's today. What are we doing tomorrow morning? Where are we hunting? What's going on? Can I help my mate? The great
who
thing
can
is
we
to
blame?
think. Yeah, great memories to think that I was a better player him in the 60s, but that's a long time ago.
Hey, John, how did you go for the girls? Did you go all right?
Well, do you know the great thing, Dougie?
The girls around back in
These
the-
fellas helped
He
me a
wasn't,
lot
he
because they all reckon I was a poof. Absolutely. And do you know
Who
what?
said that?
All the girls used to come and find out. I had the best run of my life because everyone wanted to find out whether I was a poof or not. And as soon as they found out, I promise you, mate, they reckon I used to sit down to pee.
Yeah, there were ugly rumours about it. Yeah.
What about Bob saying about the crochet jock strap? And
Well,
wearing
they
your
were
hair?
only
You never
jokes
played it with a hairnet on, did you?
No, we weren't allowed to. I would love to. I would have kept my hair out of the way.
Now, I know you said you sent the hounds across, the foxhounds across to America. Have you done a lot of hunting?
Yeah, I go there every
yourself?
year for 2 months each year. Yeah,
And it's
hunt
a
with them.
huge sport.
It's huge. It's unbelievable. I mean, the experiences that I have in America would stagger people here. It's very old and traditional. The estates are beyond any comprehension. I find the energy of the Americans terribly stimulating. Their work ethic's unbelievable. And the great thing about it, they don't put the queue in the rack at 50 years of age. There's 70 and 80-year-olds still very... Obviously, they've got the money, but they remain very active. We have an attitude in Australia too often, hit 50, forget it. I come home so invigorated, give lectures, mate, come on, stop watching, get out and do some action. And I find the Americans amazing people with enormous energy, and it's a great place to go and play sport.
Well, we're going to take a break on Grumpy Old Men. Just before we pick the sentiment for our Grumpy Team of the Century, Carlton need a few dollars. John, they're struggling a little bit financially. Have you sort of gone to the till and sort of?
Well, what I
passed anything
thought
on
I'd like to
Ian
do
Collins?
is leverage my $100 and give it to Dennis and come back with $5 million from a few years.
Are you surprised they're broke?
Good leverage.
Are you surprised they're broke?
I'm so incredibly disappointed that a wonderful club, due to total mismanagement. I remember a few years ago being called to a meeting with David Mackay and a number of people, And over a period of time, I was very strong in the background of the politics of Carlton. In fact, I will claim this, that when Harris and Laurie Kerr were at loggerheads in a very major way, as Kerr was the Robertson of your great fellow,
Richmond,
Graham
of
Richmond.
Carlton, yeah.
He was the Richmond of Carlton and a genius, a great man. He and George would never be in the same room. I actually organised a lunch in a private room with old Mr Silk at the Southern Cross and put them in the room together and reunited the two of them in the interest of Carlton. So I've always been a great believer in that you can't afford factions. We need every single person assisting in developing our club. Sadly, I believe that Lofts particularly, and Elliot led by the nose by Lofts. He relied far too much on his judgment and influence, and we've seen what the club, it has been a disgrace. It's a wonderful club that's been literally destroyed by two men.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great shame, but it'll be a long road, and I just hope that we're able to. The biggest problem is you realise when you're down the bottom of the ladder, you're no longer getting television coverage, so you lose the 35, 25, 20,000, your members, and your membership base is the key to your club, the grassroots. We are losing that very rapidly, and that would be my great concern because of these draconian penalties that were issued on the Carlton Football Club because of the misdemeanour of a number of, or a few people. It's just, and it's not in the interest because, as you know, Richmond, Carlton, Collingwood, there's 90, 100,000 people there. And I cannot understand, if you run a business, why you'd want to destroy one of the great icons of the game, because long term it's a disaster for football. So I put it to you, I think they've got a lot to answer for.
Now,
I would do anything I can within my resources at the appropriate time. But I still like to be watched, as I said, so I'm not interested in sitting down at the moment and being involved watching other people play sport. I still like to try and remain a participant myself, which negates some of those things I'd love to do.
now, in the 70s, John went into the ladies' wear. You used to make beautiful dressing gowns for ladies.
60s.
Late
I sold
60s.
it. I sold it in the late 60s.
Did you?
When I went back to the bush, yeah.
Beautiful dressing gowns.
Well, that's, you remember it well.
lingerie.
Remember we had Margaret?
Yes, in beautiful velvet one.
Remember that nice strong man that the Richmond Football Club's wife? That you were all nervous when you flirted with her? Tony Jules' missus?
Margie Jewell. We've got to pick a grumpy
Well, now there is a grumpy opportunity with old Tony Jewell, who I like, but he eats horseshoe nails too.
And Ragsy, it's always great to catch up with the greatest fox hunter going around. John Ragsy Goold. Catch us next week on Grumpy Old Men, because we'll have two more stars as we look back to the very good old days of AFL football.